Have you ever heard of a phantom island? Not a mythical place like Atlantis, but a real, documented piece of land that simply vanished. Today, we're diving into one of the greatest cartographic mysteries of all time, the disappearance of Bermeja Island. For over 400 years, from the 16th to the 20th century, a small island named Bermeja was consistently marked on maps of the Gulf of Mexico. It was located about 100 kilometers off the northern coast of the Yucatan Peninsula. Its name, Bermeja, means reddish in Spanish, likely describing the color of its soil or sand. Cartographers from Spain, Italy, England, and France all included it in their charts. It was a known navigational point, a fixture of the Gulf. Take a look at this map from 1539, one of the earliest known depictions. Here it is, clear as day. And here's another from the 17th century, and another from the 18th. For centuries, sailors and mapmakers accepted its existence without question. It was just there. But then, something strange happened. In the 20th century, Bermeja started to fade from view. The mystery truly ignited in 1997. Mexico and the United States were in the middle of negotiating maritime boundaries in the Gulf of Mexico, a region incredibly rich in oil. The location of Bermeja was crucial. According to international law, the presence of this tiny island could have extended Mexico's exclusive economic zone by tens of thousands of square kilometers, giving them claim to potentially billions of barrels of oil. So, the Mexican government sent a survey ship, the Anjuku, to pinpoint the island's exact coordinates. They sailed to the location where Bermeja had been charted for centuries. They scanned the sea floor with state-of-the-art sonar equipment. And what did they find? Absolutely nothing. Just deep, open water. The island was gone. This discovery sent shockwaves through the government and the public. How could a charted island just vanish? The news sparked a frenzy of theories, some mundane, and some, well, a little more dramatic. Had Bermeja ever existed at all? Let's explore the first possibility. It was all a mistake. Early cartography was far from an exact science. Navigators relied on celestial navigation and dead reckoning, which were prone to errors. It's plausible that a 16th-century cartographer misplaced another island, or perhaps misinterpreted a navigator's log. Maybe they saw a temporary sandbar or a floating mass of seaweed and mistook it for a permanent landmass. Once an error like this gets onto one influential map, it can be copied for generations. Mapmakers often relied on previous maps as source material, so a single mistake could be perpetuated for centuries. This is known as a phantom island, and Bermeja is one of the most famous examples. It's possible that Bermeja was simply a ghost on paper, a cartographic echo that never had a physical counterpart. But that explanation doesn't sit right with everyone. The island was documented too many times, by too many different sources, to be easily dismissed as a simple error. This leads us to our second, more dramatic theory. The island was real, but it sank. The geology of the Gulf of Mexico is complex. The seafloor is not a static environment. It's subject to tectonic activity, subsidence, and erosion. One theory suggests Bermeja was a low-lying island, perhaps a salt dome cap or a sand cay, that was gradually eroded by powerful hurricanes and rising sea levels. Over time, the relentless force of the ocean could have simply washed it away, scrubbing it from existence until it slipped beneath the waves. Think about it. A massive storm, or a series of storms over decades, could have battered the island, breaking it apart piece by piece. The coastline would recede, the landmass would shrink, until finally, nothing was left but open sea. This is a natural, albeit powerful, explanation. In 2009, the National Autonomous University of Mexico, UNAM, conducted an extensive expedition to search for the island's remains. Their deep-sea research vessel scanned the ocean floor at the reported coordinates. The conclusion of their multi-million-dollar search: they found no evidence that an island had ever existed there. The seabed was smooth, with no signs of a collapsed landmass or underwater mountain. So, if it didn't sink, and it wasn't a mistake, what else could have happened? This is where the story takes a turn into the world of conspiracy. The timing of Bermeja's confirmed disappearance in 1997 is, to say the least, suspicious. It happened right when Mexico needed the island to secure valuable oil rights. The stakes were incredibly high. We're talking about a territory estimated to hold up to 22 billion barrels of oil. An island, no matter how small, would have been a massive legal and economic asset for Mexico. So, the most explosive theory emerged: Bermeja was intentionally destroyed. Proponents of this idea point fingers at the United States, specifically the CIA. The theory goes that, to prevent Mexico from claiming the vast oil reserves, a secret operation was launched to literally blow the island off the map. It sounds like something out of a spy movie, but for some, the financial motive is too strong to ignore. Could a clandestine mission have used explosives to demolish a small island without anyone noticing? In the vastness of the Gulf of Mexico, it's not entirely impossible. There are unverified reports and whispers from Mexican politicians and journalists who claim to have inside information, suggesting a cover-up. They argue that the official surveys were either flawed or part of a deliberate campaign of misinformation to hide the truth. They believe that the island was real, and its destruction was a cold, calculated act of geopolitical chess. However, there is zero hard evidence to support this claim. No declassified documents, no whistleblowers, no seismic data indicating a massive explosion. It remains a powerful and captivating story, but one firmly rooted in speculation. The idea of a government secretly vaporizing a piece of land to gain an economic advantage is a terrifying thought, but without proof, it's just a conspiracy theory. So, where does that leave us? We have a historical record spanning 400 years showing an island. We have modern surveys showing nothing but empty ocean. We have three main possibilities: a centuries-old mapping error, a natural geological event, or a sinister international conspiracy, the most likely, and most scientifically accepted explanation is the first one: cartographic error. It's the simplest explanation and fits a known pattern of phantom islands appearing and disappearing from maps throughout history. The lack of any geological evidence of a sunken island on the seafloor is a powerful argument against the natural disaster theory. And the conspiracy theory, while thrilling, lacks any concrete evidence. But the mystery is what makes the story of Bermeja so enduring. It represents a fascinating collision of history, science, and politics. It's a reminder that our maps, our understanding of the world, are not always as concrete as we think. There are still blank spaces, still questions left unanswered. What do you think happened to Bermeja Island? Was it a simple mistake copied for centuries? A victim of nature's power? Or was it erased in a high-stakes game for black gold? The truth, much like the island itself, may be lost to the depths of the Gulf of Mexico, buried under layers of water, time, and speculation. The Phantom Island of Bermeja remains one of the world's most compelling unsolved geographic mysteries. Thanks for joining me on this investigation. If you enjoy diving into strange and unsolved stories, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. See you next time.